Okay. All right, so for everyone who is already tuned in, you might notice that we're looking a little different than usual for our Fireside chat. So we're trying out a new platform. I know everyone pre-registered, and we're very thankful for everyone who did that. And I sent you all a link to our Facebook Live page. And we're just going to give a couple minutes for some more of those people to come in. And then we're going to give this new platform a go. It's our last Fireside chat of 2020. So I see people are still coming in. Okay. All right. We do hope that everyone will stay on the whole time. We do have some giveaways at the end. I know everyone's pretty busy. It's Christmas in a couple of days. It's the holiday season. Mm-hmm. So we do appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I think we'll give it about 30 more seconds before we start going. This is good. Just taking notes as we go. All right. All right, so usually at the beginning of the majority of our Fireside chats, AVTE is a really great community who do these check-ins and tell us who you are and where you're from. We would appreciate seeing everyone's names, who's tuned in. There are some comments in the chat. It will also help us with those giveaways later on if we know who's here. People are still coming in. Good. So I'm sure everyone's probably seen my face by now on a couple of these. So I'm Jess Campbell. I'm not going to stick around long. I'm not going to say much. You're not here for me. You probably see Izzy on the screen as well. Izzy is helping us with this new platform and making sure that everything's going well. She's on our team. And I'm just going to hand it over to Sarah. Oh, hello, Irene. Stephanie, look, oh, they're all coming in now. Okay.
Hey, everybody, I'm Sarah Razor, and I am the Director of Marketing with Hippo Manager Software. We are a cloud-based veterinary software and also very proud to be the sponsor of AVTE's Fireside Chats for 2020. So thank you for having us, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues for their introductions.
I'm Tricia Gorham. I am the Program Director at St. Petersburg College, and I am a Director with the AVTE.
Hello, I'm Laurie Lobdell, and I am the Director of the Veterinary Technology Program at Parkland College in Champaign, Illinois, and I am a Director, Board at Large of the AVTE.
Awesome. And it looks like Jess and Izzy disappeared. Hopefully they're still in the background somewhere, but before we really get started, I do want to say thank you to them. They've done a really nice job of coordinating this and putting together this great technology for us. So what a great way to tee up our technology talks for today. So 2020, no shocker, has been quite the year of change. And so we were thinking for the closing Fireside Chat for this year, it'd be a really nice time for us to just kind of take a beat and really reflect on what the year's been like and how technology has changed throughout this year, and then what's kind of looking ahead. So Trish and Laurie are here today to kind of help us with that. And I'm going to serve a little bit as just moderator and throw out some questions so that we can get some really good discussion going. As Jess mentioned, we really encourage folks to use the chat to ask questions and give us feedback. We'll be checking in on the chat board throughout and answering your questions as we go. But to tease up, I will throw out the first question for Trish and Laurie. And it's a pretty broad question. We'd really like for you all to talk about where your veterinary technology programs have experienced, what you guys have experienced since March, basically. If you could share the journey through the changes you made to transitioning things online, if you were already online for a lot of things, what it's been like with, what social distancing measures have meant for your students, and just really walk us through what a day in the life has been like for you all in hopes that other members of AVTE could sort of learn from your experiences. I don't know who wants to go first.
Laurie, you want to go first?
Sure. So we were completely on campus or face-to-face, as everyone knows. And so when we got the call or the email that we were going fully remote. It was quite a change. We had to actually extend our spring break because it happened right around our spring break time, because it took us as faculty 2 weeks to get everything ready and to switch everything over. Being remote only was probably the most difficult. That was the springtime when it first hit. And so all our lectures, we had to start learning how to use Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And we have our learning management system. They added something called TechSmith. It's just a way to create videos. So all our lectures could be videoed and then uploaded to our learning management system. It also allowed us to make videos for all our demonstrations that we would normally do face-to-face with our students. So all our lab time had to be remote. So that was basically just videoing all our hands-on skills. And also the students then had to create videos. So it was a lot of videos, had to create their own videos once they learned the skill, practiced it, and then wanted to show us how they could do it. They had to do videos and upload those. So it was a lot of technology, learning a lot in a short amount of time. And just what impressed me the most was that my team coming together. Students were very nervous about being completely online, but they persevered and they did really well. So it was definitely a difficult time. Since then, we've been able to be a little more on campus. So it's kind of half and half. We do lectures online, and then we do meet on campus with social distancing and masks and everything. So we are still able to do our hands-on stuff on campus, which is much nicer than being completely on remote.
So we had a little bit easier probably than most, simply because we had a full face-to-face program and a fully completely online program. So we already had the online components built. The problem we again were on spring break when we got the call, and they did extend our spring break an additional week. So what we did was we used that time to transition our learning management campus versions to the online version. So essentially we had to import pieces from our online courses into our campus courses. And then again, even though we were fully online, we didn't do synchronous learning. It was pretty much asynchronous. So we did explore different options, Zoom being the one that came out the best for us. And that's what we implemented. And we still had time. We would still meet with the students at their regularly scheduled times. But then we had to figure out when we could bring students back to do hands-on skills. We did give them the option for those campus students if they wanted to create videos, if they were still able to continue their clinical work. If they wanted to create videos, they could, and we would evaluate them as we would an online student. Most of our campus students chose not to do that and chose to wait until we could come back to campus to do those skills. So then we had to organize these massive skill day labs for all semesters of the students to come back and get all of their skills done. So that took us about all of June and half of July to get that accomplished. In the meantime, the students got incomplete grades for the spring semester until that was happening. The biggest challenge we found was when the clinic shut down. Every one of our students is required to be in a clinic every semester, regardless of what they're enrolled in. So when the clinic shut down or went just to curbside, a lot of the volunteer opportunities disappeared. So we did have to adjust our clinical hours for spring and for summer. Luckily, we're well above the accreditation standard. When our students graduate, they have like 500-600 hours instead of the minimum. So we had that flexibility, thank goodness. But, we had to look for that for fall. We couldn't continue to not require those clinical hours. So when fall started, we did come back online on campus. Some of our lectures are online, but our campus labs are running with social distancing as we can. Students did have to sign a waiver to come back to us, saying they know that social distancing isn't completely feasible in all labs. So, our animals are so big and you have to have 2 people on them, and you can't be 6 feet apart if your animal's a Yorkie. So the college did create a waiver saying the students had to sign that to come back. So we do wear masks 24/7 when we're on campus. So that's definitely a challenge to lecture with a mask on.
Yes.
So, but that's pretty much how we've modified moving forward.
So amazing when you think about the changes just from like, what life was like in February to now, and just how quickly these programs have had to evolve. And truly talking to you guys, in preparation for this call and then today, it's just given me such a deep respect for the students and what they've gone through too. I mean, they've gone through their school changing, but also their work environments changing. Like that's a lot. That's a whole lot to take on.
Right. And I'll have to say that the students have really been amazing. So they've really adapted. It's a challenge. All vet tech programs are a challenging program. They're tough. We have rigorous programs, and these guys really just adapted and went with the flow and did what we asked them to do and showed up when we asked them to show up. And so really they made our lives a little easier because they were so flexible and receptive to the changes.
Yeah, definitely. The students have been great. They were very nervous, like I said, at first, but they've really adapted and just gone with the flow like the rest of us.
That's awesome. Speaks to the caliber of your students too.
Yes.
Very cool.
Right.
Well, my next question is, if you could travel back in time, and I always use the date March 13th, it probably was a little bit different for everybody, but that was the day that we switched our office over. But if you could go back in time to March 13th, what would you tell yourself that would have made this time period smoother? Like, what do you wish you'd known then? Or, lessons that you learned maybe the hard way? And what technology tools did you end up leaning into the most? And really, and piggyback onto that further, what do you think will be really important for 2021? What technology tools do you think you'll lean into the most for 2021?
You want me to go first, Laurie, on this one?
Sure.
So if I could learn, when we got the call that we were going online, it was essentially for 2 weeks. And I said, okay, guys, we can do this for 2 weeks. No big deal. 2 weeks is nothing. We'll be back. And silly me. Here we are 8 months later, still wearing masks and still having to be online for things. So, looking to the future would be maybe have a broader outlook on things when things happen like this. Also, to utilize, we have such a robust online program, but we weren't really utilizing all of the tools that we had built for the online students, for the campus students. And that's one of the lessons we've learned coming into this is we now provide everything essentially to the campus students that the online students were getting. Even though they had us or they have us, it helps them better prepare for class is what we found. Give them those videos too and give them the online lectures so they can come better prepared for class. So it was silly of us to not be utilizing every tool that we had in our arsenal for the campus students as well. So now that is one thing we definitely learned is our campus courses are built with those online. Some of the assignments are different. We hide some of those assignments. What we did this semester, because we never knew if we were having to go completely back online again, if we were going to have a shutdown. So we built all of those online assignments into the campus courses as well, and then hid those assignments. And then, if a student went out with COVID, then we could have opened those assignments to that particular student so that they were still getting the same experience. So in Zoom, gosh, it's such a great tool. So, and we weren't using that before. We were using WebEx, which is clunky and not super user friendly. So, now we're doing all of our tutoring via Zoom. So, which is a great thing that we learned because our online students weren't getting the tutoring that our campus students were having access to. So now we have Zoom drop-in sessions 3 nights a week from, I think they have them from 6 to 8, where anybody can show up and meet with the tutor. So why didn't we think of that before?
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that was a great thing that came out of this.
Trish, before we keep going, I want to ask the people who are watching, if you are doing something similar to what Trish is doing and offering benefits that may have been for online students now for the in-person students or vice versa, done more blending, give us a comment in the chat and let us know if you're doing something similar. I think that's brilliant, especially the tutoring. Like, wow. Sometimes it does take a crisis to realize that, but There's so much logic in that to meet students kind of where they are. Yeah. That's so smart. So smart.
There was a question in the chat that said minimum clinical hours have changed. It has not changed. The clinical hours are still the same.
Trish, do you know what they are for those who might be wondering what the...
I believe it's 280.
Okay.
240, maybe 240.
240.
240.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so your students having that did you say 500?
Yeah, it depends. Our online students are required 280 hours each semester.
Okay. Wow.
So our campus students are required 100 each semester. So.
Okay. So they were coming out with plenty.
They were coming out with more.
The hiccup. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hiccup. COVID's been a little more than a hiccup, but
right. Right.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Laurie? Any thoughts on, I know that's a very broad question, but anything you wish you had back in March?
The lesson I learned was similar, that I thought I was using my learning management system really well, but I wasn't. There was lots of tools that we had available that I didn't even know about. And so just learning to use those tools, and probably the biggest thing I would tell myself if I could go back is to create videos for all the demonstrations, all the skills that we've been doing. So that was kind of a scramble, having to do that at the last minute. So now that we've started to build that, we have those in place. Yeah, YouTube is great, but there's never one that's exactly every little step that you want them to do. So just creating those videos ahead of time and having those for students. And like Trish said, then they can go online and watch the videos many times as they want, rather than us just doing it one time in lab. And then they have to try to remember, even though we practice and practice, they can go back and watch the video. And I think it makes students really like the videos. They really like to be able to go back, watch a lecture again, or watch the skills video again. So I think that's been really helpful. But that's what I would tell everybody, is really check into your learning management system and your tools, and use as many tools as you have that you can, because we weren't using half the tools that we had, because we're so used to just doing it on campus and being face-to-face. And so then when we had to switch, it was quite the learning curve trying to figure everything out. But
that's such an elegant solution, though, to like really, before you scramble and start going to get new tools or adding on, like that really like gut check-in of like, what do we have and are we using it to its maximum capacity? I can tell you all, our veterinary clinics that we work with a lot, certainly there's parts of Hippo Manager that they hadn't tapped into because they didn't need to yet. But I'd say that's probably true just for almost any business or organization or anybody. Like, what do you have and are you really using it all?
Right. I know there's, we all have we struggle with time, and do we have to learn all those tools if we're not using them? But, I think this also gave us a little more time. I don't know if you guys, I feel like I'm working more because I'm at home and I hear the computer ding and I'm like, oh, there's an email. I got to go check it. So I find more time that I'm trying to play with things and stuff like that because I'm here. So,
right. Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm putting in more hours.
Definitely. Yeah. We joke it's more like sleeping at the office than working from home. And that is definitely true. Maybe not the healthiest, but that's where we are right now. So looks like we had a couple of questions come in. Before we go on to the next one, I'll skim them. Let's see. Do you all use an online platform such as, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, you all.
Trajexis.
Okay. For tracking students' AVMA essential skills?
We don't. We have an internal portfolio system that we use within D2L. So they create a portfolio, and then for each class where the essential skills live or reside, those essential skills videos or skills lists or whatever go into their e-portfolio. So that's how we track. I think maybe we're a little bit harsh on things because we assign essential skills to particular classes. And if they don't accomplish that essential skill or they don't pass that essential skill, they don't pass the class. So there's no going on and then we'll go back and catch them up on that essential skill. They have to complete it during that class. So yeah, D2L has the portfolio system and that's what we use to track our students.
Very smart.
We don't use Trajexis or anything like that yet either, but I really need to start doing something different because we're still doing it on paper.
Maybe that's a good topic, Jess, for a future Fireside chat. Who's using it? Yeah, that could be cool. That could be a very cool topic. Yep.
Well, there's multiple systems out there. So, comparing the systems would be a good Fireside chat.
That would be cool. Yeah. Looking at like 2 or 3 different models. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
And then I like Gordon's comment. We've been using GoToMeetings for the lectures, but yes, touting and I think any academic advising and even faculty meetings very useful. Yeah, academic advising makes a lot of sense too. Just being able to that flexibility of not having to be in the same place. That is nice. And it looks like another question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, I've always called online students and had phone conversations with them, but why were we not using Zoom or things like that before, where you can see them face to face and they have a person to connect with and things like that? So that is definitely a change we've made too, is we're meeting with students face to face instead of on the phone.
And screen share.
So,
it makes me laugh about
absolutely.
the number of calls I had on Zoom and did not turn on the camera. I'm like, why did we do that? Like, it was such a weird thing, and now it's like so normal. Yeah. I like Carla's question up here too. What about trying to create community with students now? A lot of our students feel much more isolated. Any tips? It's a really good question.
Yeah, our campus students are back on campus, so that's that. But our online students, we've always struggled with having that kind of sense of community with them because they're all over the country. But, again, I should be a promoter of Zoom, but, we put those Zoom meetings now together. And if they want to drop in and then they can talk to each other, they can talk to me, or if they want to create a Zoom, I will create one and open it for them, and then I'll leave and let them talk. So I think that's helped them. The discussion boards have been really helpful within the learning management systems to get them to talk about things, but you just have to be really crafty with your discussions so that they want to interact with each other. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I tried the discussion board thing and that didn't seem to go over too well, but I think it's just there's so much work online to do that the discussion board was just one more thing.
Yeah.
We are back on campus, but I still think that there's not as much of a sense of community. We do have a student club, but they weren't allowed to get together. So we did those meetings on Zoom, and that gave them a chance to talk. And same thing, I kind of just set the Zoom up for them and let them go so that it wasn't always me sitting there. But yeah, I definitely think that it's not the way it was before. And I wish we could do better, but I don't have any tips on how to make that. Because students are just told to come to campus, and leave. Mm-hmm. I mean, campus is like a ghost town. There's nobody hangs around or hangs out or anything like that. So,
yeah, somebody put about different assignments and using different tools. There's so many different tools. Again, if you just have to find them, and the AVTE's discussion board, people have been throwing all of that stuff up there. So I've gotten some good tips on different tools that you can use. Put a Kahoot together and have them play a game together and things like that. So all of those different ideas out there. It's just, again, do you have the time to do it? So,
Right.
Absolutely. I like the tip from Jolyn Judge. Zoom also allows you to create breakout rooms where you can have them work in groups and assigning group activities on Google Drive. I do agree the breakout rooms are nice because, meeting with 3, 4, 5 people is much more comfortable for real conversation than bigger groups. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's a great tip. All right. I'm going to go to my next question. And this is a big one. How has COVID shaped or reshaped your students' perspective on the industry? I mean, the industry, goodness, has gone through so much also. Any thoughts from you all on that?
Well, like Trish was talking about, when it first hit and clinics kind of shut down or went to curbside, my students only do their clinicals outside of campus, so they actually have to find a place and go and volunteer, like Trish was saying. And it took us a month to get that set up, which was much different than normal. So we didn't get to start even till June. So what I do is then I go visit them at their clinicals, and it was very interesting. Some, like even the supervisors at the clinicals, felt bad because of the curbside service, and they didn't feel like the students were getting the same experience. But that's the way things are now, and they just had to learn, how clinics are dealing with this and how things are changing. But I kept telling my students they're even lucky to get to go and see that and experience that. So just grateful that clinics would allow students to come in and get to see how it has changed our industry and how things are so different.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest things is we were seeing prior to COVID an increase in mental health issues. And we know that in the veterinary profession just alone. And our students are super stressed because, again, we have rigorous programs and it's hard. It's not an easy program like everyone seems to think it is. And I'm going to go play with puppies and kittens and everything will be fine. So when the clinics went curbside, I know in our clinic, we are busier than we were. People are home. People are paying attention to their pets. People are keeping their pets. So they're coming to the vet more often. So the clients that we're seeing has increased in number. And now all of the technicians are the ones going curbside and going out and things like that. So it's increasing the stress level and the students are in that. They're in that environment. So having to make sure that they have the tools that they need to handle mental health and to know that it's okay to talk to somebody about it. And our college has been great about that. We have a mental health program where students have access to a mental health counselor free of charge if they need that. So, kudos to the college for setting that up. But I think our students need to make sure, or we need to make sure that our students are equipped to deal or have the tools and the people to talk to so that they can learn to deal with what's going on and what's happening in the clinics. Because that's just compounded by COVID. Mm-hmm. So, they got the clinic stress, they got school stress, and now they got this pandemic stress. Mm-hmm. So, in trying to get through this intensive program. So,
I can't believe how busy clinics are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. We are running analytics right now across, our Hippo manager clinics, but our inclination, just a, initial data poll, we're seeing definitely increases in productivity and just number of visits, number of pets seen, that sort of thing. And I think you're right, Trish. I mean, we need to look at the analytics in depth, but I do think people are home with their animals more now. They're noticing things. Yeah. And people are adopting more animals. Like you've seen that.
Yeah.
Different reports and things like that. So it is a much more intense environment for an environment that was already a lot. And I'd love to see in the chats if other folks are doing things to mitigate stress for their students. Like if you have the on-campus support, like Tricia's college has, or if you have other tips or strategies, if you're doing something unique in your programs, I think that could also be another great topic going forward. Just what kind of support services for students might be a good fit, especially right now, just where there's extra need. But Tricia, I think that's a great observation.
Yeah.
We have counselors. It's just getting students to go talk to them.
Yeah.
Making it more like it's okay. Everybody does this kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes total sense.
And making sure the students know they're not alone in this, because I feel like they get in their silos and think I'm the only one that's experiencing this when they're not. I mean, we're all experiencing it, and the students even more. So, getting the word out that they need to be comfortable talking to their faculty members so that, because the colleges have tools, but we can't give the students tools if we don't know that they're having issues.
Right.
So just getting them, just talk to us, let us know. If you want to slip us a note, if that's how you want to communicate with us, that's fine. But we've got it. We can help if we know.
That's very cool. Yeah, that makes total sense. And what a great lesson you're also teaching them for their whole career. I mean, I know it's, while they're in school, but you're also teaching them how to mitigate their stress issues, for their career path.
Right.
That's very good. And then I think my last question, although we certainly would love if folks want to chat in other questions while we've got Tricia and Laurie here to help us. But how has COVID changed your selection process for students? Any perspective on if you'll have more or less online or face-to-face interactions after COVID?
Did we talk about this, Trish? No. It has not changed. It has not changed our selection process. We have a selective admissions process. We haven't changed that. I can say that students are struggling this semester. The new students are struggling, just not used to all the online. So it may be something we might have to revisit for next fall. But it's in community colleges anyway, you can't change the selection process too quickly because of it's already in the catalog for next year. It's already so. I think maybe like Tricia's saying, maybe just more support and trying to get them to reach out when they need help, which is what we're always trying to tell them.
The only thing that we didn't change our requirements, but we changed the deadlines. So our students have to previously, when they applied for the program, they had to have 40 hours of clinical observation time with a CBT or a credential technician prior to applying. Now we're allowing them to apply as long as they have those clinical observation hours done before the first day of class. And then we're really working one-on-one with them to find observation clinics in their area, because that's the problem. The students that are coming to us that aren't previously employed, they're having trouble getting in. So we have done a great job with the students that are local to us, because we just send them to a faculty member's clinic where they can observe. They get COVID tested prior to going, and then, of course, they have to follow the guidelines when they're in there doing their observation hours. The distance students that are not local to us is a little trickier. So what we're trying to do is navigate our database to see if we have another student in their area, or if we have a graduate in their area, and trying to work around that a little bit. I will say our applications for campus program are down. So people are still weary about coming back to campus. So I think that has affected our enrollment for spring, for sure, fall, for sure, and spring. We're also down. Online program, not so much. We're still holding steady with that. But yeah, we didn't change the requirements. We just changed and are a little more flexible with the deadlines.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw a question pop up from Irene, but I'm having trouble getting back to it. Did you guys see it? Oh, it looks like
higher attrition this semester.
Magic behind this. Okay. Oh, where did it go?
I see Irene's question about do we had a higher attrition rate this semester? For sure. So it's a combination of everything. They get COVID, they're out for 2 weeks, they can't go back to their clinics, so or somebody in their house got COVID. So we did have a higher withdrawal rate spring, summer, and fall than we had in the previous semesters. But the college, again, has been pretty supportive of that and will allow them to withdraw with a refund all the way up until the last day of class at this point. If a student did not pass in the spring or in the summer, they were allowed to retake the class for free, which was crazy amazing. I can't believe they did that, but they did. So that's been pretty supportive for the students. So
our attrition rate this fall for new students, yes, is much higher. Our returning students that went through it in the spring are doing very well because they're used to it. But yes, the new students were definitely, our attrition rate is up.
Yeah, I would definitely say that it was higher for the first semester students than it is for the students that had been enrolled. So
I saw that question about academic dishonesty. So that was a new thing, having to do all our quizzes, exams, everything online. So we have tried a couple of different proctors. We had HonorLock, and now we're going to switch to, I think, Respondus Lockdown. So we do use proctoring because definitely worried about them, Googling things on their phone or looking at their notes while they're taking those quizzes. So.
Yeah, we use HonorLock as well for our exams. So, and there's a lot of settings. That's another really big learning curve, is to find out what settings are working for you for HonorLock. And then HonorLock is, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's AI generated. So there's a person in the background, but it's basically the computer identifies when it's suspect. So then the instructors have to go in and look at all of the videos of their testing for all of their students. So that's very time consuming for that. And I find you got to make sure your directions on HonorLock are very specific, because the AI will flag an extra person in the room if they have a picture behind them. So so I had a student that was completely red the entire time, and it was because she had a picture right here over her shoulder. So, it's just learning. It's just learning the systems and things like that. Our quizzing, we really make those learning activities instead of really graded activities. So, but the exams for sure are via proctor in HonorLock. So
very cool.
So one of my students said we are switching to Respondus Lockdown because I guess the honor lock, they have to pay for it. And one of my students said she didn't like the new respondents because she couldn't see herself on the screen. And if you aren't on the camera, it shuts you down. And so she was so worried that she couldn't see herself, so she was going to get shut down from taking her.
Oh, interesting. That is kind of a good tip, though, to like know that's how it works. Yeah.
That brings up a good point, though, with some of the challenges we had back in March when we went completely online for the campus. Online students had everything, but the campus students, some of them didn't have good internet connection. They didn't have cameras. They didn't have the tools they needed. So we had to get all of that out to the students. So, that's amazing. One thing. Yeah, that was one thing, maybe requiring those essential pieces of equipment prior to them starting the program. We say you got to have a printer, you got to have, internet connection, but maybe adding to that a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that Howard College got laptops out to everybody who didn't have them.
But that especially makes sense to change those requirements even for in-person students if you're offering more like tutoring via Zoom or, some of those benefits are being offered in one, both for in-person and online students in the same method. That makes total sense. Yeah. Looks like Janet had a good question. Our application process has not changed. I think the hardest is the shadow hours. Many clinics are not allowing shadowing students. I'm blessed to know a lot of veterinarians. Yep. So she's having the same experience you guys are.
Yeah.
And then does anyone have a format of lecturing other than sitting in a chair in front of a computer? I would love to still be able to stand or move around a bit. Projector. That's a good question. I'm sure that's very different for you all to lecture in that way.
Yeah, we did when we went back on campus. Our classrooms were set up so that we could do Zoom in the classroom setting, because if a student were to test positive or be exposed or whatever, they were to stay home, but they still had to attend class. So essentially that was set up. It was all via Zoom, but it was set up so that the cameras were positioned so that they could see what we were doing lecturing wise within the classroom.
Oh,
so
cool.
Luckily, knock on wood, we didn't have to use it very often, but it worked out pretty well. I mean, they could see us lecturing, they could see the whiteboards behind us, they could hear the other students asking questions and things like that. So we just did that, and I could essentially stand here and lecture as well. So I just move too much, though, is my problem. I can't stand still, so I have to sit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tricia and Laurie, any questions you want to ask of each other or ask the audience if they want to chime in with any answers?
I just like when people share their tools, what specific tools are they utilizing, like Kahoots and doing the Jeopardy sessions and things like that, because I think everyone gets, a best practice. What is your best practice for COVID time, I guess, would be my question, because we all can learn from each other. We're all doing stuff different ways. We all have the same issues, though. So.
Absolutely. Makes total sense. And maybe that could be a cool, AVTE might already have a resource like this, but a matrix or a survey of, different tools being used in different areas could be a neat project for 2021. I keep coming up with all kinds of fun things for Jess and Izzy and
we do. One of our goals, though, is we do want to work on a resources area on the AVTE website. So I know we've talked about that so that we can get things up there for people that say, oh, I need a iCook example or something like that. We can put that up there, and others that are willing to share their information can put things up there.
The Facebook group is awesome.
It is it's very active. We like it.
Yep. It's good stuff. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And Jess, I don't know if you are still in the background, if you want to close us out.
I am here.
All right.
I'm wondering if we want to give it a few minutes to see if people have anything they wanted to share with us about their tools. But we wanted to do a couple of giveaways while we're waiting for any responses. What do we think?
We always want to do giveaways.
All right, so let's think of a fun way to do this. How about, let's see, we have 3 giveaways. So why don't we go around and let's start with Sarah. Why don't you give me a number between 1 and 30?
Ooh, I'm going to go with number 2. And I'll tell you why, Jess, if I can do a quick plug.
Go
Hippo
for it.
Manager is rolling out Hippo 2.0 in January. And so if folks are looking for veterinary software, we'd be glad to give you a little twirl of what our software looks like. But so I'm going to pick number 2.
Perfect. So then number 2 will receive that Amazon gift card from Hippo Manager.
Nice.
And it is Stephanie from Moberly Area Community College in Missouri.
All right.
Yay. Oh, I bet she's cold.
Cool.
From the Florida girl. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry you have snow.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, I would love to be in Florida right now.
Oh, seriously. All right, cool. So we'll make sure we get that out to Stephanie. Thanks, Jess. If I can get her contact info from you after, that'd be awesome. I'll make sure. Stephanie, I'll get that in the mail to you if you want to message me on Facebook.
She says, woohoo, thank you.
Awesome.
All right. A question did come in. So if we want to skip to that real quick and then go back to another giveaway, we have, there you go. Does anyone have any suggestions for time management for students?
So we have a success course that if anybody went to the AVTE conference and listened to my 8 a.m. very early talk, we talked about our success course in that, and we have a time management module within that. I can't take credit for it. I did not create the module. The college, the community within the student success community in the college created that, but it walks them through some tips, some suggestions. It has a little video for them to watch. And then in my success course, I have them work through that module, and they work through the tools. And then I have them summarize the module and then give me one tool that they're going to utilize for time management while they're in the program. Does it help? I don't know. Our campus students, we do have them connect with our first semesters. We have them sit down with the third semesters so that they can talk about what has made them successful to this point and what suggestions do they have for them. So now that it's coming out of my mouth, I'm thinking, why don't I do that for the online students too via Zoom? So that might be a good future step for me.
That's a cool idea and great question.
Yeah.
Well, what we tried to do was create checklists for them within the online course, but then also try to set time limits. So the lecture is only going to be open for this amount of time, so that you have to watch it during, this time. Because when you just leave things open, they just kind of tend to make their own schedule, and that really doesn't work. In the spring, we had a great idea, but we can't do that all the time, where we had one course per day. So they could do everything for this course on Monday, this course on Tuesday, this course on Wednesday. Of course, you can't do that when you're on campus, but that seemed to really help them get those things done on those days. But this fall, with the new students struggling, I just really try to tell them to go through the checklist and do the things, as they're needed, and not try to do everything all at once or wait till the last minute to do everything.
One thing I do for the online students too is that I set an expectation, and I compare it to the campus course. So for the online students in my ClinPath course, I say, if you were a campus student, you would be meeting face-to-face with me 5 hours a week. So you need to plan on devoting 5 hours a week to actually practicing those skills so that they can budget that. And I've asked all the instructors to do that within their courses too. So the students can get in their heads, I need to devote this much time to this particular course, so they can schedule that a little better. And that time management module talks a little bit about scheduling and devoting time to different courses. So I don't know if they listen or not, but
I think the students that struggle the most are the ones that are trying to work full time.
Right.
And I know they have to work, but to work full time and be in one of these programs, it's
super difficult.
Tricia, I really like that idea, though, of saying, you should expect to dedicate X amount of hours, because it's just a level sets, too, that, you're not going to be able to cram. This is just, the reality of the environment.
And I think there's a misconception to online learning that, it's easier and it's quicker. And it's not. It's not. You still have to do the same amount of skills. You still have to learn the same amount of content. And most of these guys are working full time and doing the online classes at night. So, to put that expectation straight forward and say, look, if you don't have 5 hours to spend, you might probably need to think about taking a different course this semester.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right.
All right. So I guess if we go on to our next giveaway, let's see. Trish, give me a number 1 to 40.
21.
21. No, I'm going to have to count 21 now. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Pick up for the new year, right, Trish?
Well, the 21 is going to be a good year. My daughter just turned 21.
Oh, that is a good number then.
Yeah.
All right. 21. I have a AVTE membership renewal.
Ooh, it's a big one.
It's a big one.
It is. Or if you're not already a member, then a membership.
Get started, yeah.
For Carly Lobdell, is that how you pronounce your name? I apologize if I mispronounced it. But Carly, you have an AVTE membership in the bank.
Yay.
That's super generous of you all. Good job, Jess.
Well, I can't take credit for it. I can't. That was a double
You
thought.
totally should.
But thank you very much for joining us today, Carly. And I will be emailing you today or tomorrow to talk about your membership renewal.
Do we know where Carly's from?
Oh, where is Carly? Where are you from, Carly? I've had to find that comment again to tell me. Where'd you go? Carly, where are you
She's
from?
there.
We're on bated breath.
She says thank you. All right, let's find it. Carly is from Nope. York, PA.
She's cold too.
Yeah.
Where's my Florida peeps?
Well, let's see.
You see, I'm wearing a sweater and it's 65 here, so.
Oh, geez.
Freezing.
Oh.
YTI Career Institute. Yes, thank you very much for joining us.
Very cool. Very cool.
Let's see. We have one more. Laurie, do you want to give me a hand here? 1 through 4.
Well, I'm going to pick 30. My son just turned 30.
All right. So here we go.
Make Jess count again.
I'm going backwards this time because there's. All right. We have Tammy Kramer from Lancaster County in Pennsylvania.
Another Pennsylvania.
Nice.
So
Wow.
Tammy Kramer, you have a conference registration for AVTE
Wow.
2021
Wow.
in St. Louis.
Nice.
Nice.
So we hope to see you there. And I will, of course, be in contact about the details for that.
Wow.
Merry
That was a good
Christmas
one.
from AVTE. Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
It's a good day. We really we appreciate everyone joining us and helping us test out this new platform. And hopefully it went well for everyone else, as I think it went pretty well on our end. So, I mean, does anyone have any questions or anything before we close out? I know that Izzy just posted the link for the survey in the chat, which will also be emailed out to the pre-registrations. But since some of you might not have pre-registered, we wanted to get that in the chat for you as well, so we can have we always appreciate feedback. You are welcome, Tammy. We will see you in August.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Tammy. That's awesome. Jess, I just wanted to say thank you really quick to you and Trish and Laurie for hosting this Fireside chat, but also just we learned so much from you all, and I really appreciate y'all taking the time and just your thoughtful reflections on it. We love working with education groups, and it was so refreshing and nice just kind of see boots on the ground, like how's it going for you all, and just really admire the work you're doing. I mean, you're doing it in your clinics, you're doing it in the classroom, and it's just impressive. So kudos to you all for making a hard year really good.
Thank you, Sarah, for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And on to a better 2021.
Amen.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Happy holidays, everyone.